Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. This is going to be my first ever review and my first ever serious YouTube video, and it's going to be all about this, the new MacBook Pro 13-inch with the M1 chip inside. This is basically my laptop, and I'm gonna go into a little bit of depth here. I'll present to you my impressions about this laptop and if it's worth the purchase. Is it worth considering? Is it really as good as Apple claims it is? And should you actually go for it? Now, I'm sure you all know a million of other YouTubers have put out reviews about this product. Many of them much better known than me. I'm just basically a beginner right now. I'm a nobody on YouTube. But I do think I have some insight that I want to share with you guys. Because my perspective is a little bit different. So this is my very first ever Mac. I've never owned a Mac before, never used one in work or in private life, never before. So basically this is all fresh to me, and maybe this would add a little bit more depth to the entire thing. So first of all, a little bit about why I chose to purchase the Mac. I followed the Apple events throughout the years, like pretty much everyone else. And I came to the conclusion that I would really want to get into the ecosystem at some point in time. And I purchased various products, iPads, iPhones. The phone that I'm filming right now is my iPhone 11. But I never really considered a MacBook before. Of course, this all changed due to the hype of last year's Apple event about the Apple Silicon that they're switching to. And obviously when these got released, there was a huge hype behind them. I waited a little bit, I watched other reviewers review the product, and I said I'd give it a shot because I was also interested into starting YouTube, and I thought that such a machine would be the perfect tool for it. Have I been wrong? Well, actually no, it's proven to be pretty much as good as advertised, but there are some things you need to be careful about. And I'll get into them in a second. So, onto the review itself. Basically, the design is nothing new. Anyone who's been familiar with the MacBook Pro 13-inch, basically this is the same thing as before, but basically they only changed the chip inside. They switched from Intel to their own silicon they're calling the M1 chip. Basically, it's a switch in architecture. So the Intel chips are based on CISC architecture, which is basically complex instruction set computer, whereas this is a chip that is similar to the one you find in an iPhone or in an iPad or basically in any Android smartphone out there. It is basically a RISC reduced instruction set computer. At the end of the day, it's a different architecture that's been around for decades, and it's not necessarily revolutionary in its idea, but it's probably revolutionary to a certain degree in the implementation that we have here. So basically, this kind of design brings a lot of advantages. It has less power draw, it's very efficient, it's much cooler than the Intel chips. It has, because it has a lower power draw, the battery life gains a lot. So there are a lot of benefits to switching to this. And let's see if Apple have been successful. Important thing to note, Apple aren't the first ones to do it. Actually, Microsoft were the first one to do it, I think 2 years back, or at least 1 year back, when they launched Windows for ARM. Specifically the ARM version of Windows, which runs on an ARM processor. They haven't gotten much traction because the release itself is kind of buggy and doesn't seem to work that great. And the hardware, they just went out and got the best hardware they could find at the time on the market. The hardware itself is not really great. But here it is, Apple's implementation. So let's get on to it. So in terms of styling, as I've said, you guys are completely familiar with this. It's a 13-inch design. It's pretty lightweight, it's portable. It has a very, very premium feel. It's machined out of metal. so it's really comfortable to hold in the hand. Kind of a bit of a fingerprint magnet, but you can't complain that much. On the outside, it only has two ports, and there's a vent at the rear. This is the Pro version, so the Pro has a fan, whereas the Air M1 doesn't have a fan. We'll get to that later on. It has a large usable trackpad, stereo speakers, which I'll test for you in a second. The screen is good resolution, 227 ppi, 500 nits of brightness, P3 wide color gamut, and True Tone. I know a lot of people are split on True Tone. I just leave it on. I think it looks pretty good. What can I say? It has a webcam, and that's pretty much all you can say about the webcam. It's there, just tick a box. I'll show you guys in a minute. I'll video a bit of this with the webcam. It's really poor quality. Apple say they've improved the signal processor to a certain degree, and it has studio quality mics, but all in all, I don't find it that great. And as promised, this is the MacBook's camera, which is pretty grainy and pretty bad. I don't know how the audio quality will come out, so I'm basically using the Mac's internal mics now for this recording. So let's compare it to the audio in the other recording. But what I can say about the video quality is that it's really, really poor. I'm recording this in Photo Booth, which is Apple's default app, and the quality is really, really bad. It's grainy, it's blurry, really not good. The keyboard has reverted to the scissor keys that were present before. The butterfly keys that they were using were very problematic, had a lot of issues, they would break down a lot, so they came back to the scissor keys. I'd say the keyboard is pretty good, it's usable, it's tactile, I can write on it comfortably. Given the thickness of the laptop, or better yet, lack of thickness, I think it's pretty comfortable and easy to type on. So it's a good experience overall. It has a touch bar, which is something that I know a lot of people hate. I've actually grown accustomed to use it. It's quirky, I think. It's fun, not best for usability. I will totally agree with that. It takes a lot longer to use the function keys with the touch bar than if there were physical keys in place. But I'm a fan. I like it. It comes with Wi-Fi 6, and it only comes with 2 USB-C ports. So nothing else, only 2 ports. So you're probably going to need a dock for this if you go for either of the models. Either the Air or the Pro, they're both stuck with only 2 ports. Okay, that's general stuff. I'm not going to go into great depth here. People are very familiar with this product already. In terms of the design, because it's been on the market for quite some time. Apple just switched around the insides of it, and that's it, created a new product pretty much. Now, let's go into the benefits, the pros of the machine, the things I liked while using it. And there are quite a few, and again I'm gonna say Apple hasn't been lying through their teeth about a lot of stuff. So first of all, the biggest pro that I've found with this laptop has been the phenomenal battery life. It is outstanding. This is a legitimate 2 to even 3 day work machine, so you can work for 3 days full almost, 6-7 hours a day without a problem. If you leave it closed in sleep mode, it will last more than a week. This has been my experience. I've been totally happy with it. I'll give you an example. I took a 2-day trip to some friend's house, and of course I packed the Mac with me, and I packed the charger. I did some stuff for basic editing for the channel on it. I watched some movies the first day. The second day it was still around 50%, so I never charged it once in the 2-day trip. The battery life is just really that good, and this blows away every other Windows laptop I've ever owned. So I've owned everything from gaming PCs and gaming laptops and business laptops and high-end laptops and ultrabooks, and use them in various settings. None of them come close. I understand some current models or some future models with optimized Intel chips will get close to this, but right now I think this is the best one you can have. Performance. Now, I'm not going to go at all into benchmarks because I don't believe in benchmarks. They're just synthetic numbers, and this is especially true for phones. But we've seen phones to be optimized to run faster while during the benchmarks rather than in normal life. So benchmarks, I'm not interested in. Also, I'm not an advanced user who knows how to stress test this thing yet, so I'll leave a link to Max's channel below. He did a lot of testing on it, and to Linus's, they did some very interesting stuff with it. Basically, all in all, the performance is super. It's really, really good. It's very, very fast. In some tasks, it's comparable to much more expensive machines, and it's something that was completely unexpected. Another big plus for this machine is the fact that it's totally quiet. As I've said, this is the Pro, which has a fan, but you never hear it. I put this thing next to my own laptop that I use day to day. Granted, it's 3 years old now and whatnot. That thing is incredibly loud in comparison, and I'd never noticed that in isolation. Just comparing it to this thing has been out of this world, because this is legitimately quiet all of the time. And if you go with the Air option, the MacBook Air, that has no fans at all. So it's basically you're using an iPad. That's it. This is absolutely great, and it's something that I wish will be implemented in more and more laptops, because it really takes a lot of the stress away, because you don't notice it. You don't notice the sound when you're constantly working with it, but when it's gone, it does offer a quality of life improvement that's really meaningful. It's also very light and very, very portable. I was impressed. Just pick it up and go. Put it in any backpack. It fits. It's light. You can work with it anywhere. These are big, big advantages. Another thing that kind of blew me away, let's say, if you remember during the Apple event, there's a moment where Craig Federighi opens up the Mac and it instantly lights on. This is exactly what happens in the real world. This thing is always on. You put it in sleep mode, you open the lid, it's instant on, just like you're using a smartphone. And this is great. I've been using laptops with SSDs, and none of them wake this fast from sleep. None. Okay, so this is a legitimate always on type display, so it's a great experience. Now something that's not really specific to this machine in particular, it's about the integration with the Apple ecosystem. So I was skeptical about this for many, many years, because Apple sells products that are really expensive. Okay, that getting into the ecosystem is not cheap, but it brings advantages. The super fast integration between all of the different hardware is a big plus. The fact that you can use your laptop and not open your phone, and you can make phone calls, you can answer text messages without having to worry about it. Like, you don't have to set up anything. There's a lot of convenience in the ecosystem. I'll do a separate video on that, because you don't need to go all the way, and you shouldn't perhaps, but the convenience is there and it's absolutely great. For instance, in my day-to-day flow with the channel, right? I film using my iPhone. I transfer every single video to the Mac via AirDrop, and it's like super fast, right? I edit everything on the Mac, I upload it, it's fine, it works tremendously well, and it's been a joy to actually use. I've never experienced this level of integration, of seamless integration before. There are apps that synchronize your Android phone to your Windows PC, and they do work, but there's always some sort of, configuration to it, or setting it up, or This is completely painless in that regard, so I can see why they have a lot of fans. I really can understand that. A big pro is, this is very important. This is the first generation of Apple Silicon products, and they represent a clear cut in Apple's ecosystem at this point in terms of laptops and desktops. They will move away from Intel machines, and they will move to Apple Silicon, to the M chips. Okay? So this means that whereas the Intel based systems are on the way out, these are on the way in. So if you get this one or the Air with the M1 chip, you're probably looking at years of support moving forward, right? So Intel is going to be phased out, not very fast, not instantaneous overnight, but in a few years maybe there will be some problems. This won't have that kind of problem. It's clearly going to be supported because it's clearly the way forward for Apple. Now to some of the cons, because let's admit it, every product has advantages and some disadvantages. And I feel that this one is no exception. There are some downsides that you need to consider. First of all, dongles. To me, the fact that I cannot connect my iPhone 11 to this Mac by default out of the box is a little bit laughable. So basically, Apple now sells at least 3 different phones that have a lightning connector. So it's the iPhone SE 2020, it's the 10R, and the 11, and none of those have a connector in the box that allows you to connect to this Mac. So to me, that's a little bit cheap on Apple's side. I mean, they're already charging a pretty penny for the laptop itself. I would expect some connectivity to be included in there. I know there's been a lot of discussion about the whole dongle situation and whatnot, but it really needs to improve. I think the 12 out of the box has a USB-C connector, but yeah, I don't know. Older phones can't connect and you need to spend extra, and that's annoying. Another big problem is there is no upgradability down the line. So what you get is what you get, and that's it, because every component is now soldered onto the chip. This includes the RAM and the storage. Basically what you buy up front, that's what you're going to have for the life of the device. So you need to be very, very well aware of your needs. Here I have the 8 gigabyte 256 gigabyte of storage option. This is the base Pro 13 inch. I think it's enough at this point in time for me, but the storage may be a problem. The RAM, so-so. I don't think it's going to be a particular concern, but we'll see how that goes. But just keep this in mind. There's no way to upgrade this after you've bought the device. Another big downside, and this is actually the biggest one I can think of. People don't talk too much on YouTube about the real price of the products because everybody's using the reference price from the US, which is for this model $1,300. It's not. So I'm not in the US, obviously. I'm in the EU, and for this model, I paid $1,750, which is way more than you would pay in the States or in places where Apple has a direct presence and they're not going through traditional retail channels or retail partners. So yeah, it is pretty expensive, and the further up the line you go, things get really wild. I need to double check this, but for the 16 gigabyte model with the same storage, the price goes up to nearly $2,400. And the top of the line model, that one is $3,300. Wow. I mean, in the US, the same model, top of the line one, is $2,400, and here, depending on your market, it's going to be $1,000 extra on top of that. So that's a big problem. Same deal for the Air. The base Air in the US sells for $1,000, which is a great deal. It's a good laptop. For me here, if I would have bought the Air, it would have been $1,500. So more than 50% on top, which is a huge amount of money. So considering that, you need to weigh this very carefully. It may not be the best option available to you because, let's be honest, at this kind of price, there are a lot of Windows machines out there that do very, very, very well. Okay, maybe they're not as quiet, maybe the battery life is not that great, but performance is going to be good because you're getting a premium machine on the Windows side of things also for this kind of money. So be very, very careful when you choose your purchase. Also, if you want the latest and greatest, this isn't going to be it for long. I'm going to link some articles down below, and Mark Brownlee already did a video on this. Successor products are coming, and they're coming soon. Okay, this is not going to be something that's going to take another year or so. Probably by the middle of this year, maybe the fall, we will see successor products, which will be the Apple 14-inch and 16-inch MacBook Pros. So, and those will be equipped with more powerful chipsets. Basically, keep this in mind. This is a first-gen product. So this is the first out of the gate, and Apple was pretty conservative with it. They kept the same design as before, and they built a chip that they knew was going to be okay. And now they're going to go further than that. They're going to add on top of it. So the GPU is definitely going to be more powerful. Either they're going to go with more integrated graphic cores, or they're going to go with a discrete GPU. But either way, you're going to be looking at more graphics power, and the chip itself, it's going to have, there's a rumor that the M2 or M1X, whatever they're going to call it, is actually going to have 8 performance cores and 4 high efficiency cores. This one has 4 performance cores and 4 high efficiency cores. Now maybe it won't scale directly, right? So maybe performance won't really be twice as powerful, but it will be a significant increase. So if you want the most powerful one, maybe this isn't the one to get right now. Another important aspect I've not seen mentioned anywhere. Have you guys heard of Louis Rossmann? I hope I've pronounced his name right. So he's a YouTuber, and he owns a repair shop in New York, a computer repair shop. He's done a ton of videos about Apple, and bottom line is, their laptops, their machines are not the most repairable in the world. They're not very easy to repair. So if you don't really have access to Apple Care Plus, which is Apple's extended warranty system, or what they call it, and things go bad, it may be pretty expensive to fix. Considering that everything is also soldered onto the chip, it remains to be seen how this will actually impact everything, because let's say the storage goes bad. Something happens and the SSD clunks out. What happens then? How do you fix it? Is it fixable or not? This remains to be seen, but it's important to take into account. This machine may not be that easy to fix, and it may very well be very expensive to fix if things go wrong. Also, there are still some compatibility issues. Apple uses a translation software they call Rosetta 2, which basically is an emulator that emulates x86 applications to run on the new ARM architecture. I've not had any problems with the flows that I've been using for editing videos and the like, but still support is not 100% there. This is, again, first gen new product. So apps are going to need some time before they are optimized for the new platform. So there might be some compatibility issues. There's a great resource that I'll share in the description below. It's isapplesiliconready.com. It's a website that lists basically tons of applications from different fields, and There you will find if the application runs natively on ARM on the M1 chips, or if it's running under Rosetta, or if it's not running at all. The last part, yeah, this is a downside. I've mentioned it in the description. Yeah, I can't understand the webcam quality is really bad. I mean, in a year where people have resorted to working from home a lot more, and Zoom calls and Skype calls are the new norm, having a bad webcam on a device that's not cheap, again, this is an expensive machine, this is, I don't know, Apple cheaped out on it, and maybe they shouldn't have. Time for conclusions. How has been using this Mac for me? Well, outstanding actually. It's been everything I hoped it would be, and then some more on top of that. I've been totally happy using it, and I'm really happy with the purchase. It's been really great using it for day-to-day tasks and of course for the YouTube channel, and I'm actually quite a bit upset that I can't use it in my day-to-day work, because I think it would be helpful. I mean, even not having the fan running all the time is a tremendous advantage. Now, do I think this is an absolute must-buy revolutionary product that you should go out and buy right away? Not really. No. Taken at face value, this is a laptop. It does the same thing as its predecessor and does the same thing as its competitors. So it won't revolutionize anything. Sure, it would improve stuff in certain categories, but not necessarily a must-buy per se. However, there are some use cases where I would definitely recommend it, and I would recommend it right away, and you shouldn't wait. Let's take them in order. Let's say you already have a Mac, and it's pretty old, it's slow, and you've been looking to upgrade. Should you consider this one? Yeah, for sure. The M1 Max in general, i.e. the Air or the Pro 13-inch that I have here. I actually think that the Air is a great purchase for like 90+% of the people. That would probably be what I would change. I would probably buy the Air today if I'd have to do it all over again. But again, if you're looking to replace an older Mac, yes, for sure, go right ahead. I wouldn't look at the Intel Macs. I'll discuss this in a separate video, a follow-on to this one, but I would not be looking at the new Intel MacBook right now. Even if you get it with a discount, I mean, yeah, sure, if you get an amazing deal, yeah, go ahead and buy the Intel Mac. But if you're just gonna get a slight discount and it's gonna be still comparable to the M1 in price, I wouldn't go for them, even the ones with the discrete GPUs. So for now, I would go with the M1. Another use case that's pretty obvious. Are you looking to become a developer in the Apple ecosystem? So for iOS, iPadOS, and macOS, and you want a Mac for that, you don't necessarily want to install macOS on a normal Windows machine, then yeah, sure, this is the way to go because there's no other option. Again, in this case, I would go with the same recommendation. Don't buy an Intel machine, buy an Mac M1 machine, because these are the future. Apple is betting on them, and you can be really sure that probably there's just going to be a few token releases of Intel left. Apple alluded to this in the presentation of the M1s. They said they're still going to make great Intel Macs. Yeah, of course they said that. They have a contractual agreement with Intel. So probably they have some releases already slated in, but they're going to be token releases. Their main goal is going to be with the M1 and the successors, and they're going to push this product range. So if you go in right now and purchase a new one, go for the new ones with the Mac Silicon, with the Apple Silicon inside. You're a beginner content creator like me. You're just going to use iMovie and everything else. Yeah, sure, go right ahead. It's fine. It's very good for the task and you'll like it. Consider other options if you have a tighter budget. Depends very much on the budget itself. But yes, it's a good machine for that. Are you an advanced content creator? Someone who uses a lot of computing power in their day-to-day tasks? I would skip these for now, because the successors are already on the way. They're probably going to appear this year. They're probably going to be more expensive machines, but all in all, the performance will certainly go up. Also, a very important thing to note for everyone, once again, is the app compatibility situation. It is improving, and for sure, compatibility will get better and better over time. But right now, if you make the purchase, first make sure to check the compatibility. Like I said, is applesiliconready.com. I'll share the address. I don't know if I said it correctly, but check first, otherwise, you'll regret it later. I checked before going in. I knew that I wouldn't be able to use it for my day-to-day work, and I was okay with that, but maybe you wouldn't be. Um, Another use case. Are you already deep in the Apple ecosystem but don't have a Mac necessarily? Let's say you have an iPad, like I've been. You have an iPad, an iPhone, and you really want the Mac. Yeah, I think it's a good purchase, and I would go ahead with it because the convenience that it brings is actually very, very good, and it's a bit of a wow factor and definitely something that upsells the machine itself. With that being said, there's also some other caveats here. The price. The price is important. I wouldn't really stretch to the top of the line products because they're really expensive in comparison to the bottom end products. So I wouldn't really go all the way in $2,500 or plus or whatever, because I think the machines are really good as they are out of the box in the base configuration. At least for me, they have been. Um, but be careful of overspending. Okay, so the return on a dollar gets lower and lower the higher in the range you go. So this is a very important aspect to consider. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.